time I've had to work on this video. And apparently I have a broken mic. So the sound quality probably ain't going to be the best for this video until I can get a new mic in. But we're going to do what we can. Hello, welcome you back to Garden Fever. This is Corey Lefevre, your host, coming to you direct from northern Utah in the United States. I want to thank you for coming back and joining us. If you're a subscriber and if you're a new person just randomly coming across this video, welcome. Feel free to smash the like button and subscribe if you dig the information that I have on my channel. With that, let's get into it. So today I'm going to talk to you about fall preparation in your garden. I think sometimes people just kind of get to the end of the year, a lot of people will just kind of pick what the harvest of their labor, and then that's about the end of it. So one of the tips I want to give you is to cover your topsoil. Now, I have said this so many times in previous videos, and I'll say it again and again and again so people out there understand that covering your topsoil helps your living organisms and the living topsoil. I can't say it enough that I firmly believe that the number one thing for plant growth is having good, healthy, living soil, living topsoil. By covering your topsoil, you protect it against the sun rays, you protect it against the weather, and in the wintertime, which it's winter now in Utah, it's starting to get really cold, it protects it against the snow and the cold and everything. Now, in nature, it's the natural way of things is to blanket the forest floor or whatever with leaves and debris, and that's how nature covers the topsoil. Us humans tend to till it up, we weed it, we expose it to the sun. If you're not mulching, take your fall leaves and your dead debris and in the plants that you grew this year, clip them at the bottom and then mulch them back in and cover that topsoil. In a sense, you want to kind of blanket the topsoil of your garden. That helps preserve and insulate the living organisms, the microorganisms, and the beneficial fungi in the topsoil. It's also good to know that in the winter, it's at the driest time. See, even though it has a lot of frozen water on the top of the soil, there's not a whole lot of water that goes down. So my second tip is to all the tap roots, your fruit trees, your rose bushes, anything that has a deep root, now's the time to water way deep down into the ground. Get it nice and saturated under the freeze line. That way they can draw moisture throughout the winter. This will help it because normally plants, it freezes and then they have to wait till the spring melt off to actually get water. So that's why it's actually dry. In fact, one of the driest places in the world is Antarctica, believe it or not. And that's why NASA studies some of Antarctica's climate to prepare for Mars. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but it's the truth. So you want to water in really, really deep. We had a huge windstorm come through. We had tons of trees that fell over, all kinds of damage, power lines out, people without power for a long time. We got hit hard with a heavy windstorm. My house wasn't too heavily affected, but I did have a tree fall onto my home and knocked out all our power line cable lines. Landed quite a bit of it into my cherry tree. So all weekend long I've just been chopping wood and chainsawing wood, using the chips from that to mulch into my garden. All the dead leaves and little branches I cut up with pruners, as you can see in this example. Most of my neighbors laugh at me when I tell them this, but I've never thrown away any yard waste. I always compost it, I always mulch it. I can't stress enough to you, always return tons of energy and compost into your soil. Number one thing you can do for your soil. Now, don't get me wrong, how much sun the plant has, how much you water your plants, whether they like acidic, neutral, or alkaline soils, all those are important. All those things are important. But the number one thing is your topsoil. Topsoil erosion is a real thing. Why do you think farmers that mass produce food have to constantly fertilize and compost their soil? If they're doing it well, they'll compost. It's because they're draining the nutrients of the topsoil, and you need to do that. So cover it, put a blanket on it for the winter, water in your plants really, really, really deep. Now's a good time to prune for your fruit trees, you want to deadhead your flowers. As the plant starts to go into hibernation mode and the energy is going down into the root, now's the time to clip them. It starts to deadhead them and get them prepared for winter. If you do this, they'll have a much better return in the spring, trust me. With that, I also want to talk about, because now that it's getting cold, we're going to be coming indoors, and that's what you see behind me, and that's the houseplants. My daughter loves cats, and I got a kitten. And for those that are anti-cat, just go ahead and skip past this part of the video, because it's not for you. But I love all animals, and my daughter loves cats, and she's never had a chance to have a kitten. So my wife was able to talk me into getting her a kitten this year. This is him right here, beautiful cat. But with cats, kittens are untrained, and they're not always friendly to your houseplants. So I wanted to give a few tips to everyone on how to kind of kitten-proof your plants. They're untrained, so use a squirt bottle or a water bottle, and you can squirt them whenever you see them in them. Cats don't like water, and eventually they learn to associate when they're messing with the plants, they're going to get squirted. This is one way to kind of discipline them without actually physically hurting them or anything like that. Also, another thing you can do, and I recommend this, because cats, what it is when they put their paws and they smell your potting mix, it triggers an instinct inside of them to go to the bathroom. So they dig around in the soil to go either poop or pee, basically. And that's not really conducive for houseplants, especially in pots. So they leave a mess and they end up killing the plant. My cat has killed 8 of my plants this summer, and we got him this spring. So very, very damaging to our plants, and I'll give you some examples here. With that in mind, one thing you can also do is put rocks in the topsoil, cover your soil again. Get bigger rocks. I recommend bigger rocks, because small ones, they can just dig through them and it doesn't really work. The bigger rocks, like you see here, will make it very uncomfortable and not really conducive to where the litter box actually is a better place for them to go. If you don't catch them and start this and preemptively get them trained in the very beginning, they're going to go to the bathroom over and over, and the smell itself will constantly attract them to your potting mix, and it'll eventually smell in your home too. So you'll have to get rid of the soil and put all brand new soil and transplant. Plant might not make it. It's very expensive unless you have lots of compost barrels. It can get very spendy. So preemptively keep them from doing that. Another thing you can do is put skewers, shish kebab skewers in it like this. That works too, to a degree. Sometimes they'll just push them aside and move them aside, so that's why I ultimately go to the rocks. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining us and giving me your time and watching this video. Hopefully you found something in it beneficial to you. Give me a thumbs up and hit that like button. Helps the YouTube algorithm, helps us YouTube creators keep going. And with that, I bid you farewell, and continue to make the world a paradise, one garden at a time. I'm Corey Lefevre. Till next time.